Stay tuned to this video to see how I made this quilted bubble purse. In this video, I will be making a quilted bubble purse. That's what I'm calling it. And I got the idea from another YouTuber. I'll put the link in the description box below. She made a similar purse and I thought it was just so cute, I had to try it myself. So I thrifted these jeans from the thrift store and it had this interesting texture and pattern, and I thought it would make a really nice fabric for the bag. I sketched out what I wanted the bag to look like. I wanted 9 bubbles on each side of the bag. So it'll be a 9x9 square and 2 sides of the purse. And I wanted each square to be 4x4 inches. And so I started cutting the fabric. I wanted to separate the legs of the jeans so I could lay the fabric flat to cut. I used a template out of some ruled paper, cut it 4 inches by 4 inches, and cut the fabric 2 layers at a time for efficiency. I think I need a new rotary cutter because it took a little effort to cut these several layers of jean fabric. After I got 18 squares of the main fabric, I'm going to cut out 3 inches by 3 inches square of a backing fabric, and I'm using another pair of thrifted jeans that I had left over from a previous project. And again, I'm using the template to cut out 18 squares of 3 inch by 3 inch. Now that I have all of my squares cut out, I'm going to pin the front squares with the backing squares, and I'm going to pleat each side going in the same direction around. So I'm pinning the corners of the front facing denim to the backing denim. And then the extra material I'm going to fold over in the middle of that side, and I'm going to fold over in the same direction. So if I fold counterclockwise, I'm going to do that for each of the squares just so there's consistency. Then I take it to the sewing machine and I sew it very close to the edge. I sew maybe 1/8 of an inch from the edge all the way around each square. Once they're all sewn, they look like this, like little deflated bubbles, I guess. After sewing all of the squares, the front facing denim to the backing denim, and getting those deflated bubbles, I'm going to lay them out in a grid, 9 or 3x3, so there are 9 on one side. Then just like piecing quilting pieces together, I'm going to put them front facing 1 by 1 all in one row, and I'm going to sew one panel of 3 together, and once those panels are done, I'm going to sew the horizontal panels to make one large 3x3 square panel. So this is one side of the purse. Those are 9 squares all sewed together. My sewing machine did pretty well sewing all those layers of denim. There were a couple times I had to force it, but we got it done. So once you do 2 of those panels, you're going to put them front facing together and sew along 2 sides until you have like a little cylinder type structure for your purse. Now we're going to start working on the bottom. I lightly outline the bottom of the purse by marking the extremes of where the purse outline is, and then I trace an oval shape to make a template for the bottom. I fold it in half just to make sure it's pretty much symmetrical, and it is. I use this template to trace out a piece of denim material to sew to the bottom of my purse. I add about a 1/2 inch seam allowance around the edge. This piece will fit into the bottom of the purse like that, and I'm going to sew it around the edge. Here is the piece sewn in. I'm just looking at the purse turned inside out to see how it looks like. Now I need to measure the purse so I can make the lining for the purse. So first I measure the circumference of the outside of the purse, and that's 17 inches. And so I need to make a strip that's 17 inches long. And this will be for the top part of the purse where the handle or the strip will go. That will be used to carry the purse. So this strip will go along the very top edge of the purse. I put the strip right sides together on the outside of the purse and sew that down. So when you flip it inside out, you'll see the fabric matches. Now for the measurements for the lining of the purse, I measure from the bottom of the purse to the very top of the edge of the purse, and that was 11 inches. And again, measuring the circumference of the top part of the purse, again, it's 17 inches. So I use this fabric as the lining, and I measure an 11 inch by about 17 inch rectangle. Adding a little bit of seam allowance to allow for sewing the rectangle in half, as well as sewing the bottom part of the lining. Now it's time for the fun part, filling in the bubbles. I use polyfill. All I had to do was cut a little slit in the backing denim. The purse is turned inside out at this point. I cut a little slit big enough to put my finger through, and I start stuffing it with the polyfill. I stuff trying to hit the corners at first and then work my way towards the center. And I keep stuffing until I get the desired fullness or firmness of the bubble in the front. After I've stuffed all of the squares, I'm going to attempt to close up those holes with iron-on mending tape. You simply cut a piece that covers the whole hole that you're trying to cover up, and you round out the edges. I guess that's supposed to help it stick. I follow the directions in that I press it for the the number of seconds required. However, some of the ironing patches stuck and some didn't. So after doing all of them, I just figured those that stay will stay, those that don't, it doesn't matter. I'll have lining, so you won't be able to see it. Now this was the part that I was a little nervous about, which is turning the purse inside out. And for that, I had to kind of stuff the bottom deep into or outside of the purse. And I was trying, I didn't want the threads or the seams to break, but luckily it all worked out. I was able to turn it inside out. Some of the patches came apart, but that's okay. So it looks really good. Then I decided I wanted to put a stiffener in the bottom of the purse before I attached the lining. So I cut out a little cardboard piece to put in the bottom of the purse. And then what I decided to do was put fray check along the edge of this purse because I wasn't really sure how I wanted to finish the top. And so I was just going to fold it over, and I didn't want the fraying of the denim to come apart as time wears on. So I put the fray check, then I inserted the lining fabric. What I decided to do was simply put the lining fabric into the purse. Then I folded over the top part of the denim and the lining fabric so that it kind of was halved. The edge of the denim met kind of where the seam was along the quilted part. Fold that in half, ironed it down just so the fold would stay. And then after that, I sewed 2 lines all the way around so that that part would stay down. And then I decided to finish the purse. I was going to attach some leather cord into some eyelet grommets. So I've had these grommets for a while, first time using them. All I had to do was cut a tiny hole through both of the fabrics in order to insert the grommets. Used the tools that came in the kit and hammered it on the table, and it worked. So like I said, I have this roll of faux leather cording, and I simply insert it into the grommet, tie it off so it won't come out, and I measured the length I wanted it to be as a crossbody bag. Cut off the excess, and here is the result. I'm really happy with this bag. I'm glad I tried it. I think the only thing I would change, or some of the things that I would change, was the bottom denim. I would use matching fabric to do the bottom part of the jean, and then I would try to do a better top, maybe with handheld handles. But I really like how it came out. It's super cute, super different, and I can't wait to wear it out. Thanks for watching.